What's happening, tubers? Can you tell by looking at the bench here what we're going to talk about today? That's right. Good old Ethernet. How to terminate, how to use some of the differences in Ethernet cable. This is just 550 megahertz Cat 6 black box brand, nothing special. But what I want to talk about is how to terminate it. So basically there's two standards, and I'll throw pictures in here. You have T-568A and you have T-568B. Those are your two primary pinouts. Here in the US, it seems to be kind of a standard, but I use 568B pretty much exclusively. Now if you make a crossover cable, you're going to have an A on one end and a B on the other, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the first thing I want to do is just show you how to terminate an Ethernet cable. Now these are pass-through connectors. I'll show you what that means in a minute if you don't already know, but I've got my Nipex ergo strip here, and it makes quick work of simply boom, and your jacket's gone. I peel everything back out of the way. Now, there's more than one way to skin a rat. This is just how I do things, okay? You can find your own little methods. You get in there, you get rid of that center cover, just like that little center divider. Now, while I'm prepping this, I am going to say this. There's a reason why there are standards, and I found this out a long time ago. I terminated some cable, and in my brain I couldn't conceive why it would matter how they were terminated as long as both ends were the same. Well, in certain instances, especially over long runs, it does, and it has to do with the rate at which the wires are twisted and where they are in conjunction to one another within the cable. We did some really long runs, and I did them simply going orange with white next to orange, blue with white next to blue, brown with white next to brown, green with white next to green. This is years ago, as I said. And most of the cables worked fine, but then we had one device that wasn't working as it should. Now notice you got the little notches. A lot of guys use the Klein. These are Southwire. I'll put a link in the description. Just use that to straighten your wire out, just to get the twists out of it, if you will. Just like this. Really, one pull's enough if you grab it right. Get the little kinks out of the wire. But anyway, there was one run out of all those that I did that was a little longer, and we was having issues. Well, it turned out that because I terminated them that way, that's what was causing the problem. And like I said, running it through my brain, I assumed if both ends were the same, they were going to connect the same on both ends and it wouldn't make a lick of difference. Boy, was I wrong. Anyway, once I get them to this point where I've got everything straightened out, okay, now I pretty much know the 568B by heart because I use it so much, but I get it like this to where my orange and my orange with white are kind of on the left, okay? And I'm going to hold them out here like this, and I'm going to get them just like that. Okay. Okay. So you get to there. Orange with white, orange. Then we're going to go green with white. Okay. Orange with white, orange. Then green with white. You see how I've kind of got them laid out in that way whenever I flip it this way anyway. Then we're going to go blue next to the green with white, and then blue with white. So your blue and your blue with white end up in the middle. Then we're going to go green. That seems to be the craze with the environment and everything nowadays. Go green. brown with white, brown. So that's everything in order right there. And what I like to do is just take and kind of smush them and kind of pull and twist. So if you look at that layout, if the camera will focus here, you've got orange with white, orange, green with white, blue, blue with white, green, brown with white, brown. That's everything laid out in order right there. Then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to trim a little bit off to even everything up. Now you want it with your clip, your locking clip, down when you put this in there. Just like that, okay? And we're just going to slide it in just like this. And the big thing here, and I used to see a lot of guys when they didn't use pass-throughs, they couldn't get their lengths right, and they would end up with their cable would be terminated and they'd have wire sticking out like this. Not good, because this is going to grab onto that jacket a little bit once you crimp it. But with these pass-throughs, it makes it a lot easier. You can get it all the way up in there. Once you get it up in there, I suggest double checking your order. And yes, this is perfectly fine. It's exactly as it should be. This is an ideal crimper. Everybody makes them. There's numerous brands of these. And you see it's got the blade here for cutting the wire that sticks out past the pass-through. But anyway, we'll pop it in, okay? And we're going to go like this. And this ideal doesn't like cutting those two end ones. So I kind of got to give it that number. But that is it. That is one completed T-568B RJ45 connector. And now I'll rush through this part, but I'm going to go ahead and do one more. It is possible to do this without wasting as much wire as I do. It makes it easier to work with, in my opinion, if you cut it back far enough to really get in there. And always, when I'm running a cable to a cabinet, I try to leave a little extra just in case I get a bad crimp, because yes, that does happen. Or if something happens with it later, you've got enough that if something happens, the connector gets corroded or something along that line, you don't necessarily have to pull a whole new cable. You might be able to just put a new end on it and be good to go. Okay, once again, we'll get these over here on the end like this. Then we'll grab our green with white. Blue and blue with white. Every now and then it helps to kind of just straighten them out if they start getting a little wily on you. And some cables easier to terminate than others, from brand to brand, from category to category, that sort of thing. There's I've had everything. I swore I got it right before, and it turned out that it was not. Sorry about the background noise. I will kill that. Okay, so we'll shove it in, get our all the way up in there, and then we'll double check. And that looks perfect. We'll crimp. And we made a straight through Ethernet cable. Okay, now how do we know that that cable's good? There's several companies that make these cheap testers. Okay, so we'll try this tester here. This came in a set I ordered off Amazon a long time ago. It was a kit that came with a crimper that wouldn't do pass-throughs and other things, but if you got everything right, all your lights should go in order. And if you did have something that was out of sync, this specific one has an option to slow it down so that you can see what you've got out of whack. It'd be nice if I was in frame. But you can see it going through there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All good, right? Okay, so we have a perfectly good patch cable right there. Okay, so we tried this tester, and I actually had dead batteries in this one, so I went and put new batteries in it. But what we'll do here is go ahead and plug into this one and get everything facing up. So the other one worked. Now we'll try this one here. Hold these up so you can see both sides. Now I will say, if you're simply testing to make sure cables work, don't go out and spend a ridiculous amount of money on a tester. If you need to do some network diagnostics or something along that line, by all means, buy you an expensive fluke or something like that. But if you're just making cables and want to make sure those cables are good, this will do you just fine. So this one, you turn it over to network and you just hit the button. And it does the same thing as this one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Lets you know that everything is going right, straight through, just as it should. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut one end of this off. And we're going to turn this into a crossover cable. Meaning, right now both ends of this are 568B. I'm going to cut it off and I'm going to make one end a 568A. Simple enough, right? Be careful when you cut that center. I can't tell you how many times I've nicked my wires, my conductors, in the process. And then you got to cut it back and start all over. And if you're in a position where someone else ran the wire and they didn't leave you a whole lot of extra to play with, it can really be a problem. Straighten them out. Now 568A, I do not have memorized because I don't use it very often. 568B, I can do all day long without even thinking about it. 568A, I've got to glance at a cheat sheet because it's just not something I do all the time. But we're going to start out with green with white and green. That much I do remember, being on our far left. So we're going to go green with white, green. And then we're going to go orange with white. And then we go back to our blue and blue with white in the center. This wire's being a little cumbersome with me here. So blue, blue with white. And then our orange. And then it's still going to end with brown with white and brown. Let me double check this, make sure I got it right. So really all you're doing is switching your green and your orange. When I say green, when I say orange, I'm talking about the green with white and green, the orange with white and orange. You're just swapping places with them. That's all a crossover cable is doing differently. Okay? So you can see how that's laid out. You got green with white, green, orange with white, blue, blue with white, just like on a 568B, orange, and then it ends with brown with white and brown, just like a 568B. So your green and your orange is the only thing that you're flipping. And we will pop an end on here. Oh, sorry, I bumped the camera. We'll get it all the way up in there where the jacket gets crimped to. And we'll double check. Green with white, green. Orange with white, blue, blue with white, orange, brown with white, brown. That is exactly right. So that is a 568A RJ45 termination. And now we have what is called a crossover cable. And here's what a crossover cable is going to look like when you put it in a tester. be nice if the cables would behave. I'll try to line these up side by side this time so you can really see exactly what's going on. I'll bring it up a little closer to the camera for you. And we're going to hit test. Make sense? Four, 5, and 7, 8 are still the same. Okay, so that's really, as far as making cables is concerned, that's about all you've got to be concerned with. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot, you can get into a lot of detail when it comes down to speeds and bandwidth, the different types of cable, be it Cat 5, Cat 5e, Cat 6. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, shielded, unshielded. We're not going to get into all that in this video. I just wanted to show you how to terminate a basic Ethernet cable, 568A, 568B, straight through and crossover. That's about as far as I wanted this video to go. Like, comment, subscribe, as usual. I always ask for that. I've recently hit 1,000 subscribers. That's awesome. You guys rock. That's a big deal for me. Please come back, check it out. I've got some other stuff coming up. I got a cool review coming up of a meter called the Pocket Pro. That is super cool. It should be out probably about the same time as this one because I'm going to shoot it immediately following this. But yeah, you guys are awesome getting me to 1,000 subs like that. I feel honored. I really do. I appreciate you guys a bunch. Peace out, YouTube.